Project that never ends.
Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission work session for this Monday, December 9th, 2024. Is our deputy clerk here? Can you do a roll call? All right, thank you.
Commissioner Keener,
Here.
Commissioner German, absent. Commissioner Gorman,
Here.
Commissioner Cochin,
Here.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Here.
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Kilgore.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum. All right, getting on with new business. First item is Muskegon Social Equity Program Economic Development Grants, and we have being reported out in the Planning Department. Welcome, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mike Franzek, Planning Director.
Good evening. So you're going to report out on this item for us, and you got a proposal.
Sure, so earlier this year, the commission approved how we were going to allocate the social equity program funding. 35% was going to go to fair housing and public infrastructure improvements, 16% to education and harm reduction, 17% to expungement clinics. We've done 2 out of those 3 so far, and another 35%, which is $56,870 for business grants, and we were going to come back and discuss the program. So that's why we're here tonight, to discuss this proposed facade improvement grant. To be eligible, it would be for any business, whether that's commercial, industrial, or nonprofit, that's located within 1 mile of a marijuana retailer in the city. And they would be eligible for up to $10,000 with no match required. And we're trying to target these areas to give back really to the area that's invested a lot in the community, the marijuana industries, and helping some of these other businesses that we're seeing a lot of blight in, that we could really help to try to assist in beautifying the areas.
All right. Thank you, Director Franzek. Commissioners, you have any questions or comments you wish to share about the proposed facade grant program? I'll start off. So this proposed facade grant program that will be housed in the overall allocation that we have to business grants generally will still be entertaining applications for the business startup grants and there's one other business grant and a business startup loan. We'll still have those offerings in addition to the facade.
Yeah, so this would be different from our grants and loan program, which we had about 90,000 in, and then we chose not to allocate any more funding this year because we had so much
Carryover.
Then we got about 12 applications for training, so that ate up a lot of it. So next year we'll be asking for more of that, but yeah, those are separate funds.
So they're not part of the $56,807 that has been allocated specifically for business grants?
Correct.
The startup business grants being funded in a different bucket?
There's the grants and loans, which is to help businesses, and then there's the separate business grants, which would be its own program.
The business grants with asterisks right now, the only program that you're anticipating
Yes.
funding presently is what you're proposing right now with the business facade grants. Okay. Do you anticipate there being any other business grants, or that'll be the sole program to utilize the $56,870 that has been allocated to business grants?
This would be the sole program.
Okay.
So we'd be able to fund about 5.5 projects.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Commissioner Kilgore, did I see you about to raise your hand earlier?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I guess my first question would be, do we, the city, think that the facade grant is the best use to use these funds?
Yeah, I believe so. We have a big push right now for improving our commercial corridors. That was a big part of our master plan, and we've done one on Pine Street recently and Apple corridor improvement plans, and we're looking at doing that in other areas as well. But we definitely see a need for building facade improvements, and not just on the buildings, maybe landscaping and screening from outdoor storage uses. We used to have a pretty robust facade improvement grant about 10 to 20 years ago. It was funded pretty heavily. Those have kind of gone away. We've been able to bring that back through the downtown, through the DDA, but you have to be in the DDA budget or in the district. And this would open it up to most of the city. So we definitely see a need. And a lot of those are match based. This would be for anyone who wants to go out and beautify it. It might just be, buying paint. If they can show us receipts of things that they're going to be doing on their own, putting up fences. Some of these corridors are a mixture of intense business uses or even industrial.
And then my next question is, how far away from a dispensary do they have to be?
1 mile in any direction in a radius.
Okay, so I'm thinking of like Getty Street. There's one near the corner of Getty and Apple. Yeah, and then obviously we have several on Laketon. So something that's near the middle of Getty between Apple and, let's say at Laketon and Getty, would that be within 1 mile? Do you think of one of the dispensaries?
Yeah, they cross over. We had like a map we looked at. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. Questions or comments, commissioners? All right. Just want to get one more point of clarification. In the packet, it talks about the proofs that you need to provide, residency, conviction, and so on and so forth. When we first established the Social Equity Fund, and including allocating monies for grants and the like, or education, the thought was that it could be used for, or should be used for, people that were individually impacted by past prohibition or their immediate family members. Because, for instance, you could be a parent or a caregiver that gets incarcerated because of prohibition years ago. You're a child thereof or an immediate family member. You are still impacted and affected by past prohibition. And so the intention, at least when we first started the Social Equity Program or Fund, was to serve the individuals and their families. So is the expectation with this program would carry that forward, that it'd be for the individuals and their family members?
Yeah, that is how we have it presented. I think it is worth a discussion, though. I do have fears we may not be able to spend the money that way. There may not, the business owner that really wants to take advantage of this, they may not have themselves or a close family member gone through that. So it may be hard to identify projects that way. So we may come back in the future if we want to. We have strayed from it a little bit in the recent past with the marijuana training grants. What we said is that we would take the same criteria as the state would on their state applications for a social equity applicant. Well, everyone in Muskegon is a social equity applicant because we're identified in one of the 23 cities that was negatively affected the most. Mm-hmm. So the three criteria on those are: you had to be a resident for at least 5 years, you had to have a caregiver for at least 2, or you were just a resident, I believe. So that qualifies you as a social.
So we for the educational and training component, we loosened it up to match with the state social equity program criteria, which I think is sensible, because if they're wanting to get in the cannabis industry, then that seems to have appropriate to have the alignment. With regard to the business grants, though, and this is going to be a conversation for us commissioners, I would personally like to see it catering towards people individually affected and their immediate family members. Right now, as presented, it's just someone that has a proof of conviction, whether judgment of sentence, order on application to set aside conviction, of expunge, and other conviction documents. So it sounds like right now, as presented, it's only the individual who has been affected. It's not more broadly their family member.
Yeah, this came up earlier, and I don't know if we just accidentally left that out, but
Okay.
we're happy to put it in either way.
Okay. Or it could be extended to anybody and everybody. That's that's the commission's discretion right now as we're moving forward with this program. If we want to, as exactly as presented, with just the individual, if we want to, extend it to family members thereof, or align it with a more broad.
I will say for our other grant program, the grants and loans, at first, the first couple years, we were very successful using some of those grants for people that had convictions. But as time goes on, there's less and less people that are finding that desirable, or we're not connecting with them. And I know we use some of those fundings for the training as well, and those just flew off the shelf when they were made available to everybody because people wanted into the industry. So we were that barrier, and more people had access to it. But I do understand sentiment, and we also discussed. We only had a few minutes to discuss at the end of the day, but there could also be some type of bonus, or maybe the cap is higher if you've gone through something like that. You'd be. I do think it would be hard to find one, much less than 5 or 6 projects all within our business corridors. Could, but it's probably going to take a few years.
Commissioner Keener.
Relating to the education and training scholarship, I would kind of like to see some verbiage for individuals that have already been in college or currently in college and have accrued debt, whether that be from housing or like, for example, my daughter, I look at her, for instance, and it's very difficult for Grand Valley is very expensive. Housing is very expensive, and she's been there going on 4 years now. So of course that's very expensive for us. And her father does have conviction, which caused a hardship in even how we are able to live our lives.
Well, it sounds like they may be eligible, so
Okay.
have them give me a call.
Okay. That's it. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Keener. Commissioner Cochin.
Thank you. I would kind of also like to echo the mayor and Commissioner Keener's sentiments. The program, I think, is meant to help the people who have been directly impacted by this, and that includes their family members as well. And you mentioned that the trainings went very quickly. I think another great suggestion that Commissioner Keener made was to, include some kind of like housing or college tuition or like something in relation to that, because that's a hardship on the whole family that they were impacted because of the marijuana convention. So yeah, I would like to see that language just tightened up a little bit and make sure we include the family members in there.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. Commissioner Keener.
I do have one other comment just for the record. I'm there with Commissioner Kilgore on wondering about the facade, with that being at $10,000, but trying to restart your life or with a business or having these grants be contributed towards like the college student, and it's only $5,000. I would rather see that turned around.
So we do have the education training scholarship, and that, other than the marijuana training, we haven't take us up on that, but it does allow for college reimbursement, and that's a completely separate one. So maybe, we could come back and fix that one maybe at the next one, because that talks about tuition, job skills training, and we could be more flexible and just say reimbursement for housing if you're in college and things like that, which I think we would probably accept anyways. We just never had an application for that yet, but it's available.
And also for the business startup, it's very hard to start up a business with $5,000, but $10,000 really hits a dent, especially if you've been saving and looking for a building or, updating what you already have. And so I would like to see more money go into that. versus the 5. Thank you.
Yep. And that's a good point because we have had a couple businesses that actually do get off the ground. Some of these we give away and nothing really ever happens. Some of them do, and they come back for another one the next year, and I think finally capped it at you get 2. So you really can get 10,000, but we try to give them one at a time. That's kind of been the rule of procedures here. So, but upping that off the get-go might be beneficial.
Customer applications.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, with regard to the proposal on the business facade grants, do you have any additional questions or thoughts? Do you wish for it to proceed as presented, which is restricted to just individuals directly affected by past prohibition, or any conviction, actually, according to this, within 1 mile radius? Do you want to extend it to the family members, immediate family members, or
Yeah.
beyond that? So go with immediate family members as well. Okay. Well, at least I'm hearing from Commissioner Keener, Commissioner Coach, and I think Commissioner Gorman was nodding her head as well.
Yes,
But
correct.
I don't want to presume consensus, so okay.
That's the way it used to be, correct?
Yes, it's mostly always been you've had to have a conviction or someone in your family has been affected. So, yes, I will say we've had some challenges identifying them, but it's good to go. We want to go with that, and if we have to come back and amend it, then we can do that.
Commissioner Kogo.
For clarification, if a person had a family member, the grant funds are still used for the facade, though.
Yeah, the thought is they've had someone in their family negatively affected, which may have hardship for themselves. So, as we're out meeting with these businesses, if we identify someone that's interested in a project, and they can meet that qualification, yeah, my father was arrested for it, back in the 80s. Made me not be able to go to college, I think that's the type of things we've been targeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts, commissioners? All right. This will be coming forward. Are you going to be adding this for a formal vote tomorrow?
We've never really done that with these. We've
Okay.
kind of always just come to an agreement at a work.
Okay, so just build consensus. Okay,
Experience.
we'll get it launched, and we'll
we'll
see.
add
It's a
that
pilot
clause.
program. We'll see how
Yep.
it goes. We'll see, if it's works and has the intended effect, and if not, we will tweak it and until it is effective. And of course, commissioners, this is utilizing the dollars that we allocated for this fiscal year that we allocated several months ago. I think it was back in the spring, early summer, when we allocated those dollars, or after we found out how many dollars we were getting from the state. And so we will be doing that again, next spring, early summer for the following tranche of funding that will come through. So
That'd be a good time to talk about to see if we've been able to use any of the funds.
excellent. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Director Franzik. Next item, beach parking fees, summer 2025 updates. Mr. Manager.
Yes. So 2 weeks ago at our commission meeting, we updated the fees based on a recommendation from staff that was led out by Deputy Manager Mike Sell. She and I worked on that topic together. We then discussed it again last week at our LPC meeting because we had received some questions about the rate of the overall increase from 10 to 20, particularly over the weekend. So tomorrow night during the regular session, we'll have an opportunity to adjust those rates if the commission so chooses to do so. And the commission had also asked during the LPC meeting that we consider doing a buy a pass, get a pass. So we want to have a discussion on that just so that we're absolutely clear on what everybody means by that. And then we can properly advertise that to the public, and that would just be through the end of December. So in the memo, what we have before you was that is is the updated one now. Yay. Cool. Thank you. The memo was talking about adjusting the weekday fees to $10 with Wednesday still being free, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday being weekend rates at $15. There's been additional discussion and some feedback that I've gotten from some of the commissioners asking that maybe we look at just doing a true weekend fee of Saturday, Sunday, or because Saturday is such a higher attendance day than others, that we just look at adjusting it on Saturday. So we want some discussion and feedback from the commission. The deputy city manager also has some data that we can dig into if you've got questions about kind of what those attendance numbers give. It is pretty straightforward, Monday through Thursday, pretty consistent. Friday and Sunday are relatively similar, and Saturday is substantially more. Be fully transparent, Sunday is a higher attendance date than Friday, but by about 8,000 over the season. So this is a discussion item to see how we would like to make those adjustments, if at all.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Did you have anything to add right now, Deputy Manager? Right off the top?
I will just say that I did get some placer data for Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays randomly in the summer, and concentrated on June, July, and August. So I do have some data there that's a little bit more specific if you have particular questions or if you want me to review.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners. Commissioner Kilgo.
I'd like you to review the
Sure.
June through August. I mean,
Sure.
here's why I asked. We all, I think, have gotten lots of feedback on this topic, so I'd actually like to hear some of the data from those weekend days in the prime of summer, June through August.
Okay, so I don't have every single Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have 6 Fridays, 6 Saturdays, and 6 Sundays. From that data, I found that on Fridays, so start off with average visitors. So average visitors on a Friday is 7,100 for the whole day. For Saturday, it's 9,467. And for Sunday, it's 7,167. I also looked at some trends in where the peaks are for the number of visitors throughout the day. On Fridays, it's always in the evening. But on Saturdays, it's at least half of the time in the afternoon. And on Sundays, it's usually in the afternoon. So, all I glean from that is beachgoers are not likely hanging out on the beach in the evening as much as they're probably more likely to be at the deck in the evening. In the afternoon, could be either. I feel like information I've received from Fred and Michelle is that they're busier in the evenings than they are in the afternoons, but they obviously still have customers in the afternoons.
About
Is that
Commissioner
helpful?
Kilgo?
Yes, very helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
I guess I would just like to say, for clarification, the parking fees for the public are used for what?
For funding parks projects, capital projects.
And our Parks and Recs department just got back going in 2023. Is that correct?
We
And did we fund it?
we revived it in
first?
2020. Well,
2022.
in 2022 calendar year, fiscal year 2023 was when we first budgeted and added the director position for Parks and Rec, and then we've been building it out since then. So, calendar year 2022, fiscal year 2023.
And please note that we've always had a parks capital plan, though. We've had to fund projects at parks, so we've had a parks department. It has just been more focused on maintenance than recreation.
Well, I think that our Parks and Recs director's been doing a great job, and I really want to see these programs continue to be funded, and that's what we're using this money for. I may be in the minority in this thinking, but I personally am fine with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday charges. At least the peak days, Saturday and Sunday, the true weekend, as opposed to just Saturday, because this is not a money grab for the city. This is funds that are used to put our young people in programming, bring new things to our parks, new equipment, outdated stuff, things that we need for our parks as a whole. And we have uh, 36, 31, how many parks?
34.
34. We have 34 different parks that we have to keep up and stuff. So I think these funds are very important. We are doing the free day, which I love, and our residents get up to 2 free parking passes per household. So we want to continue to invite people to come and visit our beautiful city in the summer. It just is going to cost a little bit more on the weekend.
Thank you, Commissioner Coco.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments, thoughts, commissioners? Commissioner Cochin.
I don't want to take up all the time because I got a lot. So I guess first I'm going to thank you for putting together all of this information and,
You're welcome.
working on this issue. Commissioner Kilgo touched base a little bit on what I was going to ask. But I think one of the things that we should probably bring back up for folks is why we are looking at raising the rates. Can you explain a little bit on what the thought process behind that is? Like what kind of additional things that we might be seeing with the raised rates?
Well, certainly part of it is that we still have a lot of deferred maintenance at our parks, so having additional funding to handle capital projects is a piece of it. As Commissioner Kogo mentioned, there's a lot more programming that we would like to do. Sorry, I just had a thought and it just flew right out of my head.
That's okay.
Hopefully it will come to
So-
me later.
Can you explain what a capital improvement project
Sure.
is so people can
Sorry.
understand that?
Yep. Thank you for making me speak general language and not local government speak. So capital projects are higher dollar projects that would be done for something that's physical. So a playground, a bathhouse, a restroom, a soccer field, something that's tangible, can grab onto.
Right. And that goes for not just Pierre Marquette, Cruzy Park, and Margaret Drake Elliott Park, but the entire city, right? You
Right.
mentioned that. So that's
Correct.
it's a lot of parks to encompass. And one of the things that I struggle with, because I absolutely love our parks department. I want to see us put more money into the parks department. I would like to see us doing more programs for the youth because I think that helps our city as a whole when our youth have things to do. But at the same time, the fees that we enacted, definitely pretty steep. We got a lot of comments on that. I personally think that a lot of this is driven, like you mentioned, from the deck. We allowed the deck to have more parking than, well, they have a very large footprint now, and we don't have the parking to kind of back that up, right? So we're running into these issues, and by raising the rates, we're hoping that we decrease some of the traffic backups, which I think will be helpful for the people in the Beechwood and Bluffton neighborhoods, as well as some of the people in the Lakeside neighborhoods, because it could wrap all the way around. One of the thought processes that has been asked, and I have asked as well, was, why is it that we can't do blocks of time for the parking? So we could do $10 for 4 hours. Can you explain a little bit about why that's not an option?
Well, as far as I understand, that is an option. We just chose to do a daily rate and a season rate when we originally instituted the paid parking. It's a lot more to manage to do it by hour. More of the revenue that would be generated, we would be put toward enforcement of that. I know that I'm not going to speak very intelligently about this because I'm not in public safety, but I've heard conversations about not being able to mark tires, and it's just more difficult to track the time that a vehicle is there. So we'd have to have more presence down there. We probably would have to pay more people, hire more people to be in parking enforcement. So it's not that it's impossible. It's just more expensive and requires more resources.
Taxing on staff.
And I did remember my other thing.
So what?
What was the other thing?
One of the things that we're considering, as we discussed, when was that, 2 weeks ago, is shuttle service. And so the increased fees would hopefully pay for that shuttle service.
Help on that.
Excellent.
I do want to touch base though with regard to the potentially charging by the hour or block times that we're not well positioned to do so now, but when we get, and I say when, not if, when we get to a digital based paid parking system, because that's ultimately the goal, that enables us to do hourly more easily and less taxing on staff and administratively. So it isn't as an we're not primed to do it now, but that doesn't mean we can't ever do it. And I think when we get to that digital based system, we'll be able to add that element.
Okay. I appreciate that, Mayor Johnson and Director Mike Sell. So I guess where I'm at right now with this, because a lot of people don't want any changes, but we do want to see more of the money going to the parks and less of the money going to the parking enforcement, because my understanding from my previous questions throughout the past year has been that a lot of this money has been going towards parking enforcement already. And so I'd like to see less of that money going towards parking enforcement. I would be much more comfortable with a rate, the higher weekend rate being, on a Saturday, with, rates being $10 where we were at before on like Fridays and Sundays. That would be kind of what my thought process is if we're looking at increasing fees. And I've also heard from some constituents about the thought process on the BOGO thing, that they don't think that that's really beneficial, because why would they need to buy more than one season pass? But I can definitely see where that would be beneficial for people who have multiple cars. You buy one, you get the other one for the other car. I do kind of think that with us introducing it this late in the month in December, and it only continuing for the rest of the month, I would like to extend that maybe into mid-January. So January 15th or something like that would be kind of something I'd be more comfortable with. So those are my initial thoughts.
Okay, I have a clarifying question for you.
Yes.
On the daily rates. So what is your thought on the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday rate?
I thought the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday rate is 10 right now. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So you're on board with that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Nope. Nope. Gotcha. Commissioner Keener.
Have we ever considered like a weekend pass, just period?
I don't know if we've talked about that in the past. That doesn't ring a bell for me.
I've been numerous places where you, and it's cost effective, especially if you get a pet. We advertise a discount for purchasing for the whole weekend. Maybe we're at $15 a day now, so it's 45. So like maybe offering like $35 or $40. We're still getting an increase, but it saves our visitors and our community that's outside of Muskegon a few dollars, because we live in an era where $5 a savings, means a lot.
I was just checking. I have a spreadsheet where I looked at other beach communities to see if anybody else had a weekend pass, and I'm not seen a note on that, so I'm not aware that anybody does, but I appreciate the suggestion.
Commissioner Gorman.
Thank you. First, I want to say thanks to everyone for allowing this conversation to happen. I just wanted to provide some perspective of before we voted on this, I was very supportive of staff moving forward with this, with the intention of a couple things. I think one, changing beach going behavior, keeping in mind that our residents would still have access to passes. Those in Muskegon County and surrounding counties have an opportunity to get a season pass. That's not really changing except for their price. But in an attempt to change behaviors, on Saturday, that again the data is showing is the most traffic day. Whether that be you don't come to the beach that day or you carpool that day. That was my supportive intention behind it. And I'm really proud of the team and this commission I sit alongside also prioritizing a local day or free day, what we're calling it, because although we are here to serve the residents in the city of Muskegon, I know that we also all get a lot of input and feedback about those that live outside the city limits, and what a barrier parking fees have been to their access to the water. And so I'm extremely proud that we prioritize that, and this was a reflection of those efforts. Um, and also now that we're taking an opportunity to respond appropriately to our constituents and greater community, and make a better decision with this information. So thank you. As far as like where I'm at with changing the rates, I think what I'm hearing and I totally understand is layers of confusion to this. And so we had talked at one time about I'm fine with the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday rates increasing from $7 to 10. I think what would make it simple for me is if Saturday was the $15 day and all the other days were 10 and then Wednesday's a free day. That's what seems simpler, more simple to me. So that's where I'm at. But I will, if we were vote today, I could support this. I just think if we're having the opportunity to discuss it right now, transparently for my commissioners, like that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. Vice Mayor St. Clair, I think that you're the only person we haven't heard from yet. Do you have anything you want to ask or add right now?
So, for some historical perspective, anyone who's been here longer than me, feel free to correct me. Has the city always paid the freight for Pier Marquette?
Maintenance and upkeep?
Yeah, for the it's a very expensive park.
Yes. When we first started the conversations about paid parking, the number that we were given for maintaining all the beaches was about $500,000 a year.
Okay. And it is my understanding that we have invited other community partners, other municipalities to participate in that upkeep cost, and they were not inclined to do so. Is that also accurate?
I feel like I've heard that, but I don't know that I was here when that happened.
Okay.
I've heard it too, but I couldn't say. I think conversations were had. I don't know, at the administrative level at least. I don't know the particulars of those conversations, and if anything was like formally,
Sure.
Rejected or denied. But I had heard that.
And we had conversations about selling parking passes at certain rates to different communities. So that might be part of that too. But yeah.
Okay. So the park itself takes an enormous amount of money to keep as beautiful as it is. And then when we implemented paid parking, that increased the costs because we increased the need for parking enforcement. Commissioner Cochin suggested that she might like to see less money spent on parking enforcement. I'm curious if anyone can speak to what would happen or where that money might come from other than the parking fees for
Would it-
enforcement?
I would expect it would just come from the police budget.
Okay, so it's going to get paid
Still
from
general fund.
somewhere. And if it's coming from the parking fees, then it's not costing public safety additional funds for a problem that we created by building in this additional revenue stream.
And we've always had parking enforcement on some level,
Right.
but then the amount of time that we were spending at Pierre Marquette once we instituted the paid parking did necessitate more dedicated time out there. So yes, that was an additional cost. But if we were to maintain the same level, it would come out of one of the general fund buckets.
Right.
So
Or if we didn't enforce, then people would not be enforced upon, in which
correct.
would minimize the impact of paid parking, because if there is no compelling reason to pay for your parking, people will be less inclined, which will reduce the revenue that we get.
Yeah, and I would say that when we started this too, obviously we have a different public safety director now, but the focus was always on reaching compliance, not being punitive to people. So I feel like we continued that effort.
In that vein, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
me jumping in, Vice Mayor Sinclair. In that vein, we do, as part of enforcement, when someone does not have the appropriate parking sticker or pass, they'll be ticketed. It's a $30 ticket presently, and they have the opportunity to bring that ticket into Muskegon Police Department. And when they pay that $30 ticket, they'll be given the season pass, which last year and past several years has been $20. So essentially, the ticket's only $10, and then they get the free pass because again, it's wanting to get compliance, but also not be punitive or overbearing to our guests, to our community. Yeah. So. Vice
So
Mayor
the
St.
goal
Clair.
isn't to make a lot of money off of enforcement. I guess the last thing that I will say was, when this came to us, we supported it unanimously. It made sense for a lot of reasons. We are actively trying to build a better community with better parks and with better access for our local residents who are our constituents. I understand that our neighboring communities also have thoughts and feelings about how we operate as a city. And that has some value as well. We are, the anchor of the community, and we want people to enjoy our amenities. But I think it's important to remember who our constituents are, actually, when we're moving forward on this, and where the benefit of how we vote will most apply. I know people have very strong feelings about everything that we do in the city, whether they live here or not. And sometimes it seems like folks that don't live here have stronger feelings than the residents do. They certainly have louder voices often. But I think that those folks that we don't hear from are the ones that we really ought to be thinking about in this, because I'm thinking about the park in Commissioner Keener's neighborhood, which is the only park in Commissioner Keener's neighborhood, which was so deteriorated that we had to take the playground out. The only playground in that entire ward had to come out because it was unsafe. And I'm not hearing anything from that ward about worrying about beach parking. And I don't know if Commissioner Keener is, but I think it's really important for us to remember the quiet folks and why we thought this was a good idea in the first place. So I will not be the stick in the spoke on whichever way we go. I'm comfortable with what we chose. I'm comfortable with this. I'm comfortable with revisiting it. I just want to be sure that we remember who our primary constituents are.
Thank you, Vice Mayor St. Clair. Yes.
There was one other thing that I wanted to offer Commissioner Keener in looking at my spreadsheet with different communities. South Haven does offer a weekly fee that is different from a daily fee and different from a seasonal pass. So there is that example.
I think I would like to see that approach for our residents. Well, not our residents, but the individuals that do want to visit. Additionally, I would love to see a discount for seniors.
So does staff want to speak to how either of those could be administered or incorporated?
So I think, as the deputy manager pointed out, there are different payment options that are programmable. I think the challenge that we have with our parking enforcement folks is how basically on the hourly rate, how would they check that? Because we do have some limitations on that. The weekend pass or senior discount pass. The senior discount pass would probably be the easiest to implement, because that would be a pass that people would buy. They would just have to show that they're a senior citizen. They would get a different rate. The weekend or weekly pass, my concern with that is just people tend to say they lose the day passes anyways. And then we get into these investigations, disputes, however you want to say it, where they come into the city hall and, well, I paid, I bought a ticket, but it blew out the window, or I lost it, or something like that. And so if it is for multiple days, how would it be affixed to the cars? Like, I'm thinking about the state park stickers. They have the, but we don't have anybody necessarily that's always out there that would be able to do that. I'm not saying it wouldn't be possible. I'm thinking of the logistical challenges for the parking folks.
I will say too that for that community, their daily fee is $10, their weekly fee is $30, and their seasonal pass, they do a 3-year term, but it averages to about $90 for a season, or for 3 seasons. So it's essentially the same price as the weekly pass. So, I mean, I could see why people do it if they don't think they need 3 years of a pass, but we're not doing something like that either.
You have something else to add,
Well,
Mr. Manager?
and keep in mind that part of this discussion is also, per the commission's request, was talking about a buy one get one program, and how would that be administered, and is that a limit of one pass no matter how many passes you buy, or is it a unlimited number of free passes for each one you buy? If it's the latter, I would have some concerns about logistics, but I'm also perfectly fine if it's, say 2, to a maximum of 2 or something like that, or 1. But keep in mind that we are having that conversation, and I don't, in the memo or in the discussion, we said till the end of December. Perfectly happy to have that go longer. I think Commissioner Cochin makes a very good point that we're kind of in the middle of the month already. So does it make sense to go a little bit further beyond the holidays? Those things are completely up to the commission, and doesn't cause us a lot of heartburn on the administration side. As far as selling goes, it's easy enough to administer, and might address some of those concerns for folks about if they get one and they get another one. And they do have many, what the heck? My brain just went blank.
Vehicles?
Many,
Vehicles?
many homes have more than one vehicle.
Right.
Yes.
I was there. There's a different word that I was trying to get in my head, but it wasn't.
Multi-generational households?
Yeah, or just
Or-
they're just that there's multiple drivers in a home.
A lot of adult drivers.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I really want us to get us to that digital-based system that's tied to a license plate, and we could extend the free parking to beyond just 2 vehicles for our city residents more easily.
Yeah.
But, anything else, Mr. Manager? Any follow-up, Commissioner Keener, before I go to Commissioner Kilgo?
No.
All right, Commissioner Kilgo.
Where would they come if we do the buy one get one free? Where would they pay? At the water department or the police station?
Please.
Either. Or they can get the treasurer's office too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically anywhere here at City Hall.
Yes.
So since it's multiple places, we can't do. I mean, I guess we could, but it wouldn't help because there's multiple places. A paper spreadsheet that has an address on it or something. Because you were saying you have reservations about if I said, okay, I want 4 passes, I'm going to buy 2 and get 2. Or I want 10 and
You
you
get
know,
20.
bootleg them outside of the
Yeah.
beach as people come in. Like, like I don't really see 1 month from now would be Thursday because we're not open on Friday. Thursday, January 9th. So I don't have a problem extending it 30 days. But if we say, okay, from today, which would be tomorrow because we vote on it tomorrow, we have a buy one, get one free sale for a month. And let's just see how many we sell. I don't see anyone coming in and buying up 100 beach parking passes because our residents get 2 free. Let's see how many people come and visit us to get a discount. Like if Vice Mayor was my neighbor and I said, hey, you go to Pure Marquette a lot. Yeah, so do I. Okay, let's do one. Then she gets one for $20 and I get one for $20. People can come and do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I just don't see it being, we're going to do a sale and sell 1,000 over the next 30 days or anything.
Still have sold 1,000.
I'm curious how many I sold last year. A lot of people do come. This is the reason why staff brought this forward at this time, even though we're many, many months away from the season, is because a lot of people buy the passes as gifts in December, and that's one of the reasons why staff brought this to us now for consideration. And that's actually the reason why I brought to the Legislative Policy Committee meeting the prospect of doing a discount, because in seeing a lot of the commentary, online from people that said, "Oh, I bought these gifts, and I don't know if I can do that this year because of the price increase." And so that was one of the reasons why I had suggested us do a sales promotion in December to accommodate, those people that are buying gifts for others. But I'd also, had seen commentary from folks that are throughout Muskegon County. They're like, well, I'm a county resident, I should be able to go for free. Some of them want to go for free, or I should be able to get a discount, or others that may work in the city, because they got 20,000 people that work in the city that don't live in the city, and they said, I'm paying income tax, I should be able to get a free pass or a discount. And so rather than trying to create a program to meet them, because that'd be administratively taxing and add a whole lot of time and expense. The other thought with a discount, a BOGO, is that you can avail yourself of that opportunity. The folks that work here but don't live here, or folks throughout Muskegon County, or even West Michigan, because we're not limiting it to only Muskegon County. But it's probably going to primarily benefit or serve Muskegon County residents, that those folks can come in and get the BOGO passes. And just like you said, Commissioner Go, because I heard from some people or saw some commentary that it's like, well, BOGO doesn't do me any good, I just need a pass. But like you said, you can talk to your neighbor, talk to your coworker, talk to your friend or family, be like, hey, let's go in on this together. And it's the same price as it was for the past several years, because this is the first price adjustments that we've done since 2021. Any follow-up, Commissioner Kilgo, before I go to Commissioner Cochin? Commissioner Cochin.
Thank you. Director Mike Sell, so one of the things that you brought up and I've been very vocal on is the shuttle service. And I think that if we can provide the shuttle service for residents, for people who are coming in from out of town and visiting our wonderful city, it gives them an opportunity to be able to go to the beach for a cheaper rate if they take that shuttle service. So can you elaborate a little bit more on kind of what that might look like and when we might be able to get that going if we were to be able to fund it?
Sure. Well, we've asked MATS to give us a proposal. And I talked through with their director some different options. So what we asked for is just a Friday through Sunday shuttle, knowing that that's when our highest attendance is, and that's when we're trying to have fewer people parking and less traffic. So we looked at two different options. One of them is a circulator that just goes to the beach parks. So the idea there is that we usually have parking available at Harbortown Beach and at Cruzy Park that isn't getting full. And so if we provide a free or low cost shuttle, well, it would probably be free for that because they're paying to park anyway. But then that shuttle just circulates along the beach, stays off of Lakeshore Drive where the traffic is the worst, and provides people just a regular, I can park at Cruzy, get all my gear together, load it onto the shuttle, get dropped off at Pier Marquette. So that's one option. And then the other option that we considered is like a downtown to the beach shuttle, thinking that we have a transit hub in downtown. And so if we had a stop that was there or very close to it, then really anybody who's using transit could access it. And then we would have limited stops along the way so that we can get people fairly quickly to the beach. So there are some complications with that kind of a service because of the way MATS currently operates. They have essentially you can flag them down. And so I'm not sure that we could limit the stops. I think if somebody was waiting at a bus stop and waited the shuttle, they'd have to stop and pick them up. And so that just makes it more complicated. It might take quite a while to get from downtown to the beach with that kind of a service. So really still trying to explore that and thinking that it might be best for our first season of trying it to just try the circulator and see if that does enough good for us.
Okay. I appreciate that breakdown. So I think with the thought process behind having the shuttle service was to get more people like from the east side of the city to the beach because we've kind of made it difficult for them to get there. And so I think that I personally would like to see more progress with us looking at the option of a shuttle service that goes from the east side of the city to the beach area, because I think that it's important that we have lower cost solutions for people to be able to get across and get to the beach.
We're definitely looking at it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. With regard to the transit options, I like the tram or the localized shuttle circulator that would go from Harbortown and to Pier Marquette and Cruzy Park. That will help with some of the congestion issues, particularly because we do have more parking available typically at Harbortown Beach and at Cruzy Park, so folks can park there and have a quick ride to Pier Marquette. So I like that, and I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to implement that this next season. With regard to the Shoreline shuttle service, or going from downtown to Pier Marquette with stops along the way, so that is part of the Commission's current 5-year goals as adopted in 2022. And so, as you may recall, back in August when this was broached with the Commission at an LPC meeting then about raising the rates, I expressed, and I'm just one of 7, but I had expressed at that time that I could support raising the seasonal pass to 30 for all the various different reasons that we've elucidated and explained why we're trying to one, pay for what we have, but also support new capital improvements, new programming, new services. But I had conveyed at that time that for me to get behind 40 to double it to 40, I want to see that shuttle service from downtown to Pier Marquette. So that's really important to me and why I supported going to $40. And so I understand there may be limitations or complications with MATS, but I don't want us to stop there. And I know that there's been some conversations with other potential partners or agencies. And so I'm bringing this up to reiterate that strong interest and desire for that shuttle service, even if we are just starting, limited time with that shuttle service from downtown, um, and connecting to Jackson Hill, because that's important to me, is that we're connecting the entirety of the shoreline. So being able to get Jackson Hill through downtown, through NIMS, through Lakeside, and Pure Marquette. Obviously, we got logistics to work out, and we don't want it to be too long. We also do want to be able to accommodate folks throughout that shoreline and connect our various different neighborhoods, connect our different business districts, and connect them to recreational opportunities. And so, just spitballing here. This is not anything that you guys have looked into or what we planned, but perhaps it's sensible to connect to the different park facilities. We'd have to figure out another stop downtown. Maybe it's Heritage Landing. I don't know. Maybe it's in the heart of downtown, but maybe, Ottawa Street and Fisherman's Landing area that's connecting, getting at least some Jackson Hill folks. Maybe we need to go up to Amet Park. I don't know. That might be a better option to connect from Amet Park. But then coming through downtown, stopping at Hartshorn, stopping at Grand Trunk, because Grand Trunk's right close to Lakeside Business District, so they're able to go either recreation or go to business. Same thing with Hartshorn; they either go to the Hartshorn recreation opportunities or they go to the businesses in the surrounding area, and then get to Pure Marquette, where we've got recreation opportunities as well as businesses. So that's just fleshing out a little bit of what I'm hopeful that we're able to accomplish. And hopefully at least pilot it to some extent this year. And beyond the paid parking, because I think the paid parking can be an important source of funding for this type of service, I would also be willing to, or would encourage us to look at sponsorships, having the sponsored service, whereby businesses can pay to have some level of branding or marketing involved with the shoreline shuttle service, and maybe it is businesses along the routes that want to do that, since they're going to be the ones most benefited by that service. So I just want to reiterate my strong desire and why I did support going to $40 with the expectation that we'd be able to get that service. Commissioner Keener.
Maybe we would want to review how the trolley ran as far as transportation, because that was my only method of getting to the beach when I was younger. And I do recall numerous stops along the way.
Yeah, I haven't explored all of this with Matt's. I can tell you that if we establish this as a fixed route, there are federal funding regulations that require us to do some extra things. So one of the things that's probably the largest impact to Matt's, and then trying to understand what the cost would be, is that any fixed route, within 3/4 of a mile of any fixed route, you have to provide dial-a-ride service. And so that just opens that route up to more service that Matt's would have to provide, that somebody has to pay for. There's also been expressed to me concerns about expanding service in Muskegon when we're not expanding it elsewhere, what that means for the county decision makers and the other local governments involved. And as far as sponsorship, if they're going to be Matt's or some other carriers' vehicles, we'd have to understand what their rules are for being able to post anything or mark the vehicle in any way. So some of these concerns might be unique to Matt's because of the service that they provide. So like I said, I'm still working on it. We're still exploring it, and I started conversations with a different provider as well.
Okay.
I just need to get them more data.
So that 3/4 mile radius requirement may be unique to Matt's alone.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know how the funding works for.
And if not, does Matt's not already provide dial-a-ride service to the entirety of the city? No?
I don't know that it's the entirety.
Well, the
we-
Mats to go.
The Go Bus is
Yeah,
probably,
the Go
well, that's
bus, but
different.
That's different, yeah.
So the dial-a-ride's for medical and disability issues, because the go-to's for anybody and everybody, and this dial-a-ride is for medical and disability, right? No? I mean,
I-
we have a former. Do you mind being called out? We have a former Mats employee here.
She might know just off the top of her head. I don't know.
But
Yeah.
yeah, with the contracted for the
Yep.
the go-to bus, yeah, for the dial-a-ride. I'm not even finding it on the website, but Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes, thank you. Our MATS issue and our transit issues is very important to me, and I would like to see us. I'd like to see the whole coalition come together. I'd like our neighboring cities to partner up, but I think it is a different issue than the shuttle service. I think that we could have a shuttle from downtown where there is a hub that maybe connects with Matt's or is right next door, or if the parking lot, it's very close to that parking lot next to the Social Security building, or
Correct.
they're very close in proximity. So if we had a shuttle that went downtown, people could enjoy our downtown and enjoy our beach. I just think the shuttle service and our mat service are two separate issues. They don't have to be tied in together
If we have Mats provide the shuttle service, they are.
if we have mats provide, but there are other options that we
Correct.
can look at for shuttle service also.
Correct.
And because we're trying to improve our mat system as a whole anyway, with the coalition and funding and stuff like that, we may want to look to have a separate carrier so we can focus on one and focus, like, they don't have to be tied together, because I know the commission would love to see shuttle service to the beach, but I also know that we want to provide mat service to our business districts and to the college and to other parts of our city as well. Like, have some good defined routes that really help the citizens of our municipality and others. So I guess I would just I'd like us to look at all options, not just having Mats provide the shuttle service possibly to the beach.
We are.
Awesome, thank you.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna say almost exactly that, but so yeah, for me, ultimately, like I never thought about this shuttle service as coming from Matt specifically. I thought about how we want to connect our city as a whole, but ultimately it can very easily be done from an outside source. It can be funded by sponsorships. There's other options, and I don't think I want us to get hamstringed with the Mats prospect. The other thing I wanted to say was that in that same vein, when we're talking about funding for our parks department, and we're talking about funding because of the beach parking, right? There's other ways that we can fund the parks department as well, and I really strongly want us to look at a Friends of Muskegon Parks in addition, to kind of help offset some of this if we're rolling back rates and we're spending a lot of money on parking enforcement. So I want us to kind of look at other revenue streams as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochin. I would love to see a Friends of Muskegon similar to Friends of Grand Rapids Parks. The key thing there is that it's a private led initiative, not a government led initiative. Us citizens and businesses and whatnot can pull together and create that Friends of Muskegon Parks. And maybe it's not even just the city, maybe it's all countywide. But no, I would love to see that kind of initiative happen here in our community. With regard to this is the last thing I'm going to say, with regard to the shoreline shuttle service that's coming, along the shoreline, into downtown, hopefully Jackson Hill as well, through the various different neighborhoods and business districts, is that is, when we talk about trying to shift or address and resolve traffic or congestion and parking situation at Pre-Marquette, that's more important to me than the pricing. Like, the notion of, like, we're going to raise prices here to try to change behavior, I see the rationale, but I don't necessarily see that as the most effective way or necessarily. Yeah, I just don't necessarily see that as overly effective in terms of changing people's behavior in terms of when they go to the beach. Like, if you're available and Saturday's the day that you're free, you don't got things to do, you're going to go to the beach on Saturday regardless of the price, until it gets too cost prohibitive, like I just can't afford it. But like trying to say, well, we want to push you to these other days. If Saturday's what's available, that's what's available. But I see a Charlene shuttle service as helping to really address the traffic congestion issues, the parking congestion issue, particularly if we're able to get our residents using that transit system to get to the beach, and now that frees up parking spaces that someone can pay for, since our residents are getting the free parking. And so that's why I think it's important to have one of the reasons why I think it's important to have that transportation option, and does help us address the traffic congestion issue and parking situation.
I think we have to be cognizant of convenience. If we're going to give every resident a free pass or tell them that they can take a shuttle, I think they're probably.
Quite possibly.
That's what I would do.
But also not all of our residents do have vehicles.
True.
And so
Absolutely.
while they can take the Lakeshore Trail on bike or foot, that may not be, that's a lengthy trek too, coming from the east end of the lake. And so having that transportation option, but also could service, guests to our community who are staying at the hotels downtown and get on there. But,
Yeah, I'm not against the shuttle service. I'm actually very, very much for it. It's just not as simple
it's not simple. I understand that.
as I
We'll
as I
keep on
continue
keeping
to
on.
learn.
I know we're a little bit ahead of our schedule. We had a 5-year, goals set in 2022, so the expectation was we'd have this figured out by 2027. But with the price increases, that was why I'm like, okay, I can get behind the doubling, but I really would like to see, this bring forward that additional transportation option. So thank you for your work on that and moving that forward. And thank you, commissioners, for your consideration of further tweaking and adjusting this. When I brought it forward to our Legislative Policy Committee meeting last week, it was born out of seeing the commentary online. Despite what some of the various different media outlets are saying, it was not like major public backlash or this huge outrage from the community. I got a grand total of 2 emails. And that was it in terms of people reaching out and with complaints or concerns or questions about this. Two people reached out. Both of them were non-residents. I've gotten a couple additional people reaching out since news broke that we were considering making these changes, again, non-residents. But I have observed and engaged in a number of online conversations, and there's been a good amount of dialogue online. And I suspect and know for some of you that you've also been observing the online conversations and engaging in them, and I think that's part of why you were receptive to considering these changes based upon what you were hearing, and that some of the commentary that was shared resonated with you. It wasn't necessarily because the vitriol or the volume, but it was just some of the commentary resonates, and you took that to heart. And I think that's why we are making these changes or considering these changes, is because our commission and our staff are being mindful of that public discourse and responsive to it, even though folks are not necessarily proactively reaching out to us and inundating us, but we are seeing it and wishing to address it. And in that vein, too, I wish to share, that I've heard, especially over this past year, a number of different issues and concerns at Pierre Marquette, or wants and needs or problems needing to be addressed. One of which is the traffic congestion and the parking situation. Others is like we'd like to have rangers back. Others we'd like to have better water safety or lifeguards. Others are we would like this new equipment, or we want to replace the boardwalk, or we want to reconfigure the parking situation. And all of those things cost money. And so to help fund those things that we've heard people say we want or need, or is a problem that needs to be resolved, it requires funding. And so that's why we're here, and that's why last month we unanimously adopted these price changes, because we want to help fund the services, programming, and capital improvements that we've heard our community ask for and say that's something that they need and want. So again, city staff and the commission's being responsive to that. So I appreciate that being receptive and responsive to such. Where I think we may have dropped the ball, we're a little remiss, is communicating that. When we adopted these initial changes last month, better communicating what we had heard up to that point, how that influenced these price adjustments, and how we are anticipating using the additional dollars going forward. And so we certainly have an opportunity to communicate that tonight. We've heard, I know that many of us have been communicating that already since our last meeting, and we have opportunity to communicate that further going forward. But I do think it's important that people understand what precipitated this, and aside from inflation, because again, we have not adjusted rates since 2021, and we have seen significant inflation in recent years as well, but how else we're planning on utilizing these dollars going forward. So thank you, commissioners, for being willing to, reconsider and make further tweaks. Now, the adjustments before us are dialing back the weekend daily rate from $20 to $15. I didn't hear any misgivings about that. I think it sounds like everyone supports dialing back the weekend daily rate to $15. The other thing is a sales promotion of a BOGO. There's some question of when it ends, and is it unlimited, or is it limited to one free or two free? Of course, you can buy more than what the free ones are limited to, but how many can you get? So I just want us to hear from commissioners to weigh in on that piece. Is everyone good with doing it through January 15th? Would you prefer to end it this month in December? It would, if we approve it tomorrow, it would launch Wednesday and would go through the end of the month, or would we like to extend it to January 15th? And how many? Last week when we at the LPC meeting, the expectation was going through into December and doing one free, but we certainly have opportunity to adjust that further. So, Commissioner Cochin.
Yes. So to elaborate on that, as far as the BOGO process goes, like Commissioner Kilgo said, and we had discussed at our legislative policy committee meeting, because we were trying to figure out, should we give different rates for county residents or people who pay taxes here, and in order to make that easier, we kind of settled on the BOGO idea. And I think that because it would be too difficult to determine who pays taxes here and who doesn't, and if we're going through 3 different departments, that does make it difficult to track. So I think that Commissioner Kilgo is correct. I think that we leave it as a buy one, get one. I don't think that we need to put limits on that. I mean, I don't think people should be buying 100 each. That'd be a lot, but probably a reasonable limit for a household makes sense to me.
And we heard from you earlier about the 15th, so understood on there. I'm good with potentially going up to 2. Last week we talked about 1. I'm good with potentially going up to 2. Buy 1 get 1 free up to 2. Opening up unlimited, I have concerns. People potentially trying to profiteer off of it. Folks that do want to come in and buy 100 and get 100 free, and then they're going to sell them. The 100 free ones. Now comes springtime or in the summertime. So a little bit of concern about profiteering there, and but. Those are my thoughts. And I'm okay with extending it to January 15th. So we have a solid month on this. Personally, I'm okay with that. Particularly because originally when I said through end of December, I was more focused on the gift, the people buying gifts. But it wasn't just that inspired me or precipitated me to think, hey, let's do a sales promotion. It was also those folks that, otherwise we might be inclined to try to give some kind of discount for one reason or another, but it just can get pretty complicated in trying to administer. So here's an opportunity to do a sales promotion, and you take the initiative to avail yourself of it. So those are my thoughts. Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. My thoughts are, if we're going to make it the 15th, we might as well make it the 16th, because that's a Thursday and the last day of the week that the city hall's open. Okay. It just makes it easier. We ended that week because 15th is a Wednesday. And then I am still in favor of the buy one, get one. Limit it, don't limit it. If people wanted to get around it, they could anyway. So during that visit, is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Okay. So January 16th and two, limitation of 2 free ones. Buy 2, get 2 free. Buy 1, get 1 free. You can buy 4 and you'll get 2 free.
Yep.
Yes. All right. And I hear Vice Mayor St. Clair concurring with that. Commissioner Keener, Commissioner Gorman, anything to add? Concur with that? Okay. Then the only other. It's clear.
I'm actually,
Mr. Manager?
I am updating the memo for tomorrow as we speak.
Okay.
So
Then the only other
I'm also
outstanding.
taking notes.
The only other outstanding question is, and I did hear from a couple of you earlier, but I don't think we have a consensus yet, is with regard to the what days constitute the weekend
I was
daily
gonna ask,
rates.
yeah.
And so presently, we treat Friday, Saturday, Sunday as weekend and have a weekend daily rate. It has been suggested to get rid of Friday and Sunday as weekend and have them be weekday, or get rid of one or the both, either or both, Friday, Sunday, and turning that to a weekday. Personally, I see sensibility in Friday becoming a weekday. Just consistency Monday through Friday weekday, and then the weekend rate is Saturday, Sunday, and that people have. I've heard some concern about complexity, and so saying weekend, weekday, weekend, that helps simplify things, in my mind at least. But I know I've heard from Commissioner Kogo on this, so you don't necessarily need to weigh again. He supports the weekend being Saturday, Sunday, and weekday being everything else, with Wednesday being free. Vice Mayor St. Clair, I don't know if you weighed in on that particular component.
I have not. I'm comfortable with that.
Commissioner Cochin?
I'm noodling.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Else.
Commissioner Keener?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. And I know Commissioner Corman, you preferred Friday and Sunday being, but you would support.
Yes, the weekend versus yes.
Okay.
Saturday.
I was wondering, like, you're not gonna say no because of without that one change,
Yes.
but otherwise you do prefer.
Yes.
Just for the record, you do
Correct.
prefer, Saturday be the only
Correct.
weekend or special higher rate. Yeah. Mr. Manager, you had something to?
So
add
just
or add?
from my tally, we've got 4 right now that would say weekend, Saturday, Sunday.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
1, 2, 3. Yep.
Yep. So, and then Commissioner Gorman indicating she wouldn't object. So
She's not gonna
I'm-
fight it, but she has a
yeah.
different
So-
preference. Yeah.
Just to be crystal clear on the tally that I have. So it's
That's kind of where I'm at too.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let me take that back, roll that back. I would be happier with just Saturday and Sunday,
Okay.
not Friday being that high.
Okay. Sounds like we have consensus on Monday through Friday being weekday rates, except for Wednesday being free, and then weekend rate is just Saturday, Sunday, and then it'll be set at $15, dropping it from 20. Okay. Is there any other questions, comments, thoughts you wish to be shared on the subject before we move on? This will be on our agenda tomorrow for formal review and adoption,
So
or a vote, yea or nay.
So just to be clear and transparent on what I've got down and what the updated memo will say, Madam Clerk, we have to update the memo again. This has been one of those weeks. It says reduce the weekend rate Saturday and Sunday from a daily rate of 20 to 15 per day. Weekday rates Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, $10 per day, and Wednesday will be a free day. Is that okay? And then offer special prices for seasonal passes for the month of until
June 16th.
January.
January. From June, July, yeah. No, January 16th. Yeah.
Until January 16th, 2025. Each person purchasing a 2025 season pass at a city office will receive 1 free pass for the 2025 season to a maximum of 2 passes.
2 free.
2 free passes, yeah. So, members of the public are welcome to purchase as many passes as they wish, but only up to 2 free passes will be provided.
You might need to clarify that language a little bit better too, so people understand they have to buy 2 to get
Yes,
2
yeah.
free.
Yes, Commissioner
I
Keener.
have to depart. My son has concert tonight. So.
Okay. We just got one more item after this, but we do have a CRC meeting, but there's not much on the CRC agenda afterwards.
things.
So, take care, Commissioner Keener.
Thank you.
Be well.
See you tomorrow.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes,
see you
just one,
tomorrow.
just one last thing I wanted to
Commissioner
share, because I thought that Commissioner Keenup brought up a really good idea of having a senior discount. I know that's available at a lot of different businesses, and I think that would be something that would help our seniors. And so that's something that I thought was interesting and would be in support of as well.
Our seniors will have it free.
Yeah.
So it'd be seniors outside of our community, which not to say we shouldn't care about them. We want to be a welcoming and hospitable community. And that's part of the reason why we do a free Wednesday, so that we are now having a free day, so that we can be, welcoming and accommodating to all folks. I'm not necessarily opposed to a senior day. I think we need to mull it over and think about how that might be administered. And if it's only, a senior discount on season passes only at City Hall, if there's senior resource dollars that can help defray that cost in terms of allocation. In fact, we're committing our senior resource dollars tomorrow. We're not committing them to paid parking, but I don't necessarily think we should use our senior resource dollars for our community to lower the price of parking for people that don't live in our community, because those senior resource dollars are meant for our seniors. But I'm open to further consideration of how we might be able to accommodate a general senior discount in the future. Any other thoughts or questions or concerns? Oh, all right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mike Zell. Next item, 880 First Street demolition asbestos abatement proposal.
Yes.
I'm looking at the Development
Yeah.
Services Director. It's Mr.
Oh.
Manager who's going to be reporting out.
Yes.
All right.
I might call the Development Services Director up here for assistance as well. So several meetings ago, we approved the demolition contract for 880 First Street. The company that does those demolitions also does asbestos remediation, and upon investigation of the site, determined that there was still some remediation that needed to occur on the site, and that's going to change the cost of the bid. So what we have before you tonight for a brief discussion is just what that additional cost is, and then it'll be for action tomorrow night, so that way we can keep the process moving forward. The other option was to wait till January and kick that process back even further, which staff wasn't excited about doing, so we want to keep this process moving forward. And of course, I closed my packet out. I apologize. Bear with me one second. I'm sorry. Director Eckholm, could you? It was 96,000 was the additional cost.
Good evening. I believe it's 94 and some change, nearly 95. And one point of clarification. So we understood from the previous potential project that we had there that did not move forward that there was likely asbestos materials here, but at the time we bid the demo, we had not conducted an asbestos survey. So we instructed bidders during the bid window that they would have to do one and then get us an additional cost for that. So for the low bidder in this case, or the selected vendor happens to do this vertically integrated. They do it themselves. Another demo contractor may have had to contract it out to a third party. So.
Any questions? Thoughts, commissioners? So this is one piece of us continuing to move forward with addressing the property at 880 First Street. We had already budgeted this fiscal year for the demolition of that property and approved a contract for demolition. Now this is just a corollary to that, to resolve the asbestos issue, which is currently contained and is only poses to public safety if it were to be disturbed, and so it needs to be resolved before we do final demolition. Something important to note is that the initial contract or bid for the demolition came in much less than what we had expected. And so with the new piece and the actual price of the bid is
Still less than
the original expectation for demolition costs. And one other factor is that half of it will be reimbursed by the state. So we're only covering half the costs of the total demolition.
in the packet, and it's a long report, so you might not have read it. The full report from the company is in that packet. AAI is the company, and I did read the report over the weekend. It's actually it's a lot of data tables, so the actual part of the report to read won't take that long to understand what's there. And Mrs. Alexander also reached out and asked a couple additional questions. As the mayor alluded to, there's not an issue with them with the asbestos being there now, but as the demo happens, we need to make sure that we take care of it properly. But there is no imminent public health risk in its current state. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
And just to clarify, because some folks at home may remember, like, hey, wait, when the city did the initial deconstruction, didn't that include asbestos? Because it did, but that was a different level of asbestos that was in the materials that were removed and deconstructed, and so that was the asbestos removal aspect of the deconstruction that happened several years ago. Turns out there's asbestos inside some of the pillars and the
brick and the
brickwork.
The brickwork between the new and the old buildings, things of that nature. So as those would come down, that's where we have those challenges. So,
Okay.
but
So any questions or thoughts on this? This will be up for a vote tomorrow. Commissioner Kilgo?
You just want to get rid of all the eyesores in Muskegon, or what?
We'd like to see Blight redeveloped, and if we can't get it redeveloped, then unfortunately it may have to come down.
this is one of the most common questions I get out and about town, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and
It's a little bittersweet,
Yeah, for sure.
seeing this come down, because we
For
had
sure.
long hoped to see it get redeveloped, and we had we're really optimistic with the last go around with the development team, a mixture of folks local and outside, minority development team that was looking at bringing an exciting project, downtown. And it didn't pan out, and our staff did great work in trying to move that forward and getting additional resources, particularly $3 million from the state to move that forward. But unfortunately, it didn't pan out, and the building conditions worsen to deteriorate each year. So we've got to address it. And I know we hear earfuls from folks about, like, when are you going to take care of that building downtown? So we're going to get it done. All right, unless there's anything else, then we're going to move to public comment. We've got two forms. So, Ms. Venerable, I have two forms from you, but you have 3 minutes to speak on either or both items together. Oh, the one is for tomorrow you want to speak on. Okay, so this you gave it to me in advance for tomorrow. Got it. Okay, so I'll keep this for tomorrow then. Okay, I'll adjust the date and I'll keep this for tomorrow. And then
How the meeting went tonight.
welcome, Ms. Vandermolen, joining us from the city of Roosevelt Park. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Okay. All right, this past summer you spoke at the 85th celebration for the Miss Michigan pageant, and you said, quote, "The mission of the Miss Michigan Scholarship Program is to," inner quotes, "prepare great women for the world and prepare the world for great women." But I argue that we need good men to help us in this world. And I don't think there would be any laws against domestic violence or sex crimes without good men. We just need these good men to enforce these laws. I forgot my sign back there, but so with that in mind, again, we need good men to help us with sex crimes and domestic violence. So I'm going to ask you, Mayor, if you will contact Dana Nessel
And I'm going to talk to Marcia Hovey-Wright as well, and maybe others. I would like Dana Nessel to possibly come down here and do an investigation, because I do think that it's possible that Tracy Lorenz has had gone on videotaping me, and I do suspect many men in this community that they've seen it because of how they've interacted with me back when I was fixing up the house in the NIMS neighborhood. The men would not leave me alone. They flirted with me. With one man, I was so afraid of being raped that I had my mother be there with me while he worked on the house. I also have spoken about an incident about a man who, in front of my mom and my sister, in my words, and he sexually assaulted me in this restaurant on Henry Street about 8 years ago. And so I believe that if Tracy showed DJ Hilson potential video, DJ Hilson's first responsibility was to me to inform me of something. And if it's true that DJ has seen something, and if DJ has seen something for many years and does know that potentially there's something out there, in my opinion, if this is true and DJ has seen something, and if he has not talked to Dana Nessel himself or reported Tracy to the authorities, in my opinion, if this is true, if there's a video out there, if DJ has seen something and not reported it, DJ Hilson is an accessory to a crime, in my opinion. Please contact Dana Nessel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Van Molen. All right, do we have anyone else in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time? I'm not seeing any. We're going to go to the phones. That number is 231-724-6721. If you're calling in, please turn down any audio in the background, announce your name, and if you're a city resident, which neighborhood you reside in, and if you're not a city resident, which township, village, or other city you may be living in. And then you'll have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks. We'll give that a few moments. All right, does not sound like we have any takers for call-in comments at this time. Commissioners, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you. Take care and be well.